So we're here with our blank document saved as a learner guide. I mentioned before we'll now go on to looking at the themes. We have a default theme set up in Microsoft Word that isn't too bad, but generally speaking, you're going to want to change it. Now, how to change it is to go to the Styles pane. This launches this Styles pane on the right-hand side. Now you can see there are two levels of headings. There's titles, subtitles, subtitle emphasis, and so on. Now you can go in there and edit each one of those and select the font, sizing, etc. that you want to assign to each of those. Once you've selected those and changed them, these selections at the top of the screen will then show up as your selections. Alternatively, if you're writing your document, let's just put it in a blank title here, and we want to make that our heading, and we click OK, that's a heading now. Notice how it quickly changes it to the selection that the default setting has created. We can change it to whatever we like. Let's say we make it a different font. So I'm going to go up to here and quickly change the font to something else. Let's go Arial and let's make it 18 and bold. Now what you can do is right click on the theme that you selected and you can modify it to match the selection that you just created. So I've changed this to Arial font 18 size. So if I select this now, it'll change it in the theme. So now whenever I have a heading, it will be in that format. So let's now work on the structure of the document. And to do that, we're going to need to find ourselves a standard to use. Because this is vocational education, we're going to go directly to training.gov.au and we're going to look at a unit of competency that we're going to write this particular learner guide for throughout the rest of this course. So I've started by entering training.gov.au in the search bar. I'm going to go to the list of national courses and I'm going to look up a qualification that I want to write to. Now, because I'm going to keep this quite simple, I'm going to look for the certificate for in business and I want to not include superseded data. So I'll click on that and in here we'll have our list of units of competency, and if I scroll down a bit further, we'll see the core units that will apply. So I'm going to select one of these core units to build our project with. In this case, I'm going to say write complex documents because I think that's quite apt. I can scroll down now to the unit components. And what I want to start with is the elements and performance criteria, because this is going to give us the basic structure of our document. If you look at the elements of any unit of competency, they are in a logical order. So for instance, this one starts with planning complex documents, drafting them, and finalizing them. That sounds like the steps to a task I want to be able to complete. Later, we'll come back and look down here at the knowledge evidence as well, because if you're writing a learner guide, you're going to need to ensure that the knowledge evidence is also included in your content. But for now, let's start up here. And I'm going to simply copy Command-C or Control-C, and I'm going to paste this back into my Word document. Now, I just want to keep the text, so I'll just say text only, and you'll see there that we have the elements plus the performance criteria, element 2, element 3, and the performance criteria. So to start with, as a draft, we're going to say that each one of the elements is going to be a heading, and each one of the performance criteria are going to be subheadings. Now don't worry, we're not going to use the exact text out of the unit of competency, but this is just about getting the structure set up. So now we can see that we're going to have to create content under each of these performance criteria to explain how to do that part of the task. As I mentioned before, we're now going to have to go back to training.gov and look at the knowledge evidence. So again, I'm going to cut the knowledge evidence out and paste this down here in my Word document. It's going to make that text only. Now we don't want the knowledge evidence to just be listed and written about at the end of the document. So once we've pasted the knowledge evidence here, we can actually look at the various parts of the knowledge evidence, the different components down here, and see where they might fit under the performance criteria above. For example, we have organization style guide and house style. Well, I'm going to cut that because I know that that would go under determining the format up here. So I'm just going to hit enter and pop that in there. The next one is format and its impact on readability. I think that will also go. in the same area. Then we've got categories for logical sequences of information. That might go just under this performance criteria, developing content overview of document. Now again, you don't have to be perfect the first round. This is just the draft to get the structure started. Rules and conventions of written English. Cut, I'm also going to put that up here. In fact, as I'm going through this, I'm seeing that structure of the document is here, and this talks about logical sequence. So I might actually cut and paste that one back up here. It's not difficult to rearrange the subject matter as you're progressing through your document. Then, key features of word processing software, including features like, okay, well, I'll cut all of that because it's one chunk of information. And you know what? I think that'll also go under here. So it looks like the first part of our document here will actually be where most of the knowledge evidence is shared. Now there's still more. The last of the knowledge evidence includes organizational policies and procedures, processes for checking, such as suitability, etc. So organizational policies, that would actually go up here in the first part of the document because we're talking about organizational policies and procedures. And finally, the last one is process for checking. So because the entire final element talks about finalizing complex documentation, I'm going to put all of that under 3.1. Now we'll see when we apply some of the more advanced techniques here of instructional design, whether we want to move any of this around for logical flow. But at this stage, I think this is looking good. We have all of the knowledge evidence incorporated, and we have all of the performance criteria included. So before we move on, we just want to quickly hit Command S or Control S to save our document.